Hi, I'm Ryan Dawes, editor of IoT News, and I'm here with Ravi Chander, who is a group architect at 407 ETR. So Ravi, can you just give our viewers a quick overview of what you guys actually do?
For sure. So the 407 ETR is actually the world's first completely barrier-free all-electronic toll highway. So that means that there's no toll booths to stop at. There's no prepaid options that you need to register for. You simply use the highway as you would any other highway, and then the billing and all of that is taken care of for you after the fact.
Okay, so you guys must be collecting a lot of data about vehicles. What kind of data are you collecting and how are you using it?
So we collect data primarily through the use of the trips. So once you get on, we record your vehicle type, your license plate, and when you get off, we match your entry and your exit, and we create what's called a complete trip. From there, we're able to figure out all of the billing options for you. So there's a ton of data that's associated with more about the trip information than it is with any individual person.
Cool, and so how can that data be used in practice?
So because we have such an enormous access to such a wide variety of demographics, we can do things like customer segmentation to better understand where our customers are coming from, what can serve their needs in the future. We're also able to access a lot of information about travel patterns to understand how best our road can be utilized in the future. So there's a ton of information out there that lets us understand what the future of civil engineering might be based on urban planning. There's a lot of data that helps us understand how vehicles are being used, what types of vehicles are being used, even things like fleets versus Ubers versus Lyfts versus taxis versus all sorts of different vehicle types and what their demographics are. So there's a ton of information there.
Well, I was fortunate enough to watch your presentation earlier, which was great. And if someone had told me that you could make smart highways sound interesting and even funny in parts, then I probably would have laughed it off myself. But you managed it, so kudos to you. So one of the things that you mentioned during your talk was how you could, if say your wife was in labor and you were trying to head to the hospital, you could pull over on the side of the road and, open up the 407 ETR app and then get someone sent out to you. So could you kind of explain how that process would sort of work?
For sure. That was a potentially extreme example, but even if you take your regular day-to-day, examples, we want to build an app that isn't just a replica of some of the self-service stuff you might see on the website or you might come into the front counter. All of that stuff is important, but it isn't innovative. What we wanted to do was make an app that was actually a net new product. So take, for example, the roadside assistance feature that you're describing. When you pull off to the shoulder of the highway, you're doing so for a reason. And we want to make sure that you aren't lost and you don't feel like you're on your own. So with a simple click of the button, you can actually request assistance. Behind the scenes, what's happening is that your request is automatically processed and patrollers are dispatched to your location without you having to try to figure out to describe where exactly on the highway you are. Now, the reasons might vary from an extreme emergency. It might vary to something where you've just run out of gas, maybe you've run out of washer fluid, maybe you're just kind of lost and need some assistance, but we don't want to make it an ordeal. What we want is the customer experience to be as seamless and as painless as possible. In fact, one of our goals with this net new product is to make sure that we elevate the customer experience to be amongst their most positively memorable ones.
Yep. So going on from that point, you said that during your presentation. There are a few people saying that they have been billed for like other cars and stuff driving on the highway. How are you sort of dealing with those, and how are you going to improve the accuracy?
For sure. I mean, one of the things that we care about the most is, besides security and privacy, it's also accuracy. We want to make sure that not only are we processing the right data for the right people at the right moment, but that we're doing so in a very effective manner. So of course there's going to be situations where you're going to get people who say that, I drove car A, but for some reason you're billing me for car B. And we have all sorts of issues that we need to kind of smooth out. The process we have in place today is an incredibly sophisticated and world-class tolling system. But even that has some percentage of error. So what we want to do is use as many different vectors as we possibly can to increase the rate of accuracy. So, you might have a transponder, and we might also want to decide to OCR your plate just to double check. And you might even have a mobile app. So what we would do is use as many inputs as possible, correlate all of them, and then choose the one that gives us the best gradient or the best confidence level. So that way our chances of error are effectively minimized.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's a really impressive system, and I believe that for drivers who install a transponder, you offer sort of discounts and that sort of thing. Is that right?
Sure. I mean, we want to have as many incentives to use our product and our service as possible. Like we said, we don't necessarily think of ourselves as competitors to other highways necessarily. We think ourselves as competitors to anyone offering a remarkable customer experience. That's where we want to be. And so if that means offering incentives to use the road, if it means discounts, if it means partnering up with others to do promotions, whatever it takes to give you a really good customer experience, that's where we want to be.
Okay, and so I take it with connected cars growing in popularity, these things will only kind of get more accurate. Do you sort of foresee a time where connected cars will remove the need for people to manually install transponders and that sort of thing?
What's really fascinating is, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, the mobile app is just one vector. It's an incredibly impressive starting point, but it's exactly that. It's a starting point. Really what we want to see is we want to explore what is the future of the in-car experience. So that might mean OEM devices where transponders are built right into the car. It might mean using a variety of third-party aftermarket devices that are open for customer use. It might mean mobile apps. It might mean wearables. It might mean things that we haven't yet imagined. So more than just connected cars, let's talk about connected infrastructure, where everything talks to everything else. The cars are talking to each other, but they're also talking to the roadway. What does that tech look like? That's where we want to be.
Brilliant. So we're here at the ProgressNEXT 2019 conference in the Legends boardroom. I probably wouldn't have considered myself a legend, but it's nice of them to put me in it. I think they might be talking more about you. So what Progress technologies are you using?
So we actually started our relationship with Progress several years ago. And so for our back-end systems, there's a lot of complexity that goes on in managing something that is seemingly simple. You know, people look at a highway and they see it as a piece of infrastructure. We see it as a service. We see it as a product. And that means there's some pretty sophisticated back-end business processes and business rules that need to be executed in order to have a seamless experience. So with Progress, we actually started leveraging their Corticon business rules engine several years ago. And it's actually still the main engine behind our most complicated business process. We're also using Corticon's, or rather than Corticon, we're using Progress's Telerik Test Studio to do a lot of automated testing for all of our UI applications. So we're primarily a company that has a significant amount of back-end work. So the few pieces of customer-facing applications we do have become mission critical, since they're basically the face of our company. We use Telerik Test Studio to make sure that it's as seamless as possible. And of course, for our new mobile app, we're leveraging currently Convey. And so Convey has been the backbone of the pilot for our mobile app to handle all of the data, all of the API, and all of the connections that are coming in. So that's really been the foundation for the pilot.
So I believe you guys now have something like 2 million customers, which must be a real challenge to scale to that level. So how are you achieving that, and what challenges did you face?
You know, scalability is a really tricky thing, because once you scale one piece of your system, all you've really done is move the bottleneck down to the next piece. So scaling only works if you scale every single layer. What we try to do is make sure that the job of scaling is offloaded as much as possible. So as much as we like to take care of all of the integrations, if we can move things to systems that are by definition scalable, that are scalable natively, that's less work for us. So anything that we need to really make sure is reliable and scalable, we try to push to the cloud as much as possible. Obviously, having a hosted platform like Convey, which is entirely cloud hosted, saves us a huge amount of effort. So what we try to do is make sure that every layer is scaled appropriately, it's scaled at the right time, and it's auto-scaled as much as possible. And anything we can push to the cloud, we try to do that as much as possible.
Okay, brilliant. Well, it's been certainly an interesting journey so far, and I look forward to seeing where it goes next. But that's everything from me, Ravi, so thank you for speaking to me.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.